The Lebanese territory continues to be attacked by the Israeli regime as part of its expansionist plans in the region and in flagrant violation of the ceasefire agreement. U.S. President Donald Trump insists on deploying military forces to Greenland during NATO meeting. And in Brazil, the Workers' Party asked the Prosecutors' office to investigate former President Jair Bolsonaro's crime against Brazilian sovereignty. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Caracas, Venezuela. We'll begin with the news. Stay with us. In Lebanon, the Israeli regime continues to attack the territory as part of its expansionist plans in the region and in flagrant violation of the ceasefire agreement. According to Lebanese authorities, the Israeli Air Forces carried out bombing raids near the cities of Baalbek and Janta, located in the border area with Syria in the east of the country. Civil defense teams report no casualties nor significant damage. Since the beginning of the conflict, these colonialist forces repeatedly crossed the blue line illegally, carrying out combats in several localities of the country, seriously disrespecting international law and the sovereignty of the countries. And around 10,000 Syrians have crossed the border into Lebanon to escape the massacres promoted by the de facto government, which includes several leaders of the terrorist group Al-Qaeda. The Lebanese authorities have reported that almost 10,000 Syrians have arrived in Akkar in the north of the country. The outbreak of violence that has ravaged the Syrian coast for a week and a half has left more than 1,400 dead, most of them members of the Alawite minority. And Arab nations call on states and organizations to take strong action against Tel Aviv after the United Nations fact-finding mission to the occupied territories concluded that Israel committed genocidal acts through the systematic destruction of sexual and reproductive health facilities. The Euro-Mediterranean Observatory for Human Rights assures that after this report, the Commission should call on states and organizations to force Israel to comply with its responsibilities under the Genocide Convention. They emphasize that inaction in the face of the crimes of the occupation has contributed directly and indirectly to the ongoing genocide. The mission's report is conclusive about the crimes of the occupation. And in Russia, Krasnodar Governor Veniamin Kondratyev reported a Ukrainian attack on the Tuapse oil complex. The governor explained that after the Ukrainian armed forces attack, a fire of more than 1,000 square meters spread in a petrol tank of the complex. On Telegram, Kondratyev added that the attack did not leave any fatalities and that at the moment 121 people are involved in extinguishing the flames. Earlier, the Kiev army employed the use of light aircraft converted into drones to attempt an attack on the Yaroslavl oil refinery. And Ghana's President John Mahama shocks ECOWAS with a policy shift after visiting Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. On Saturday, March 8th, President Mahama held talks with Mali's leader, military commander Assimi Goïta, in which he said that ECOWAS and the Alliance of Sahel states could coexist without interference. On March 9th, President Mahama then met with Niger General Abdourahmane Tiani in Niamey. The two leaders signed an economic partnership focusing on security cooperation, unimpeded trade, and regional stability. Later on March 10th, the Ghanaian president met with Burkina Faso military leader Ibrahim Traoré and proposed opening a daily flight between both capitals to facilitate trading. Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger announced the creation of the Confederation of the Alliance of Sahel States during the institution's first summit July 6, 2024. And since January 29th, the three states are no longer ECOWAS members after describing the regional bloc as a tool of former colonial powers. And in Canada, the new leader of the Liberal Party, Mark Carney, will take office as Prime Minister on Friday. Mark Carney, former governor of the Bank of Canada and former head of the Bank of England, will be appointed Prime Minister in a public ceremony in Ottawa before the country's Governor-General, Mary Simon. On Thursday, Justin Trudeau bade farewell to the Canadian people and said he was proud to have served a country full of people who stand up for what is right. The swearing-in ceremony will be held at the Governor General's official residence in Ottawa, which will be previously visited by outgoing Prime Minister Trudeau, where he will tender his resignation. And now we have our first break coming up. Remember, you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. U.S. President Donald Trump insists on deploying military forces to Greenland during NATO meeting. The U.S. President reiterated his intention to annex the territory of Greenland during his first meeting with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. He also proposed sending troops to the island and has denied that it truly belongs to Denmark. Last Tuesday, Greenland celebrated elections in a period of high tension after President Trump began claiming weeks ago that the United States aspires to keep Greenland, a speech that has gradually gone from being a joke to a genuine journey. Also in the United States, 2 federal judges ordered President Donald Trump's administration to reinstate thousands of workers laid off as part of the large-scale downsizing that took place at several federal agencies. Judge William Alsop in San Francisco ruled Thursday that the layoff did not follow federal law and demanded that offers of reinstatement be sent out immediately. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt claimed the decision was an attempt to interfere with the president's power to hire and fire employees. The judge's order followed a lawsuit filed by a coalition of unions and organizations as the Republican administration moves to slash the federal workforce. And an American Airlines plane caught fire on Thursday while at Denver International Airport in Colorado. The Boeing 737-800, which took off from Colorado Springs with 172 passengers on board, was diverted to Denver after reporting engine vibrations. After remaining in the air for about an hour, the aircraft landed and headed towards its gate at the exact moment when the fire broke out. The accident forced 6 passengers to stand on the wing of the plane during evacuation, while 6 others were taken to the hospital for checkup due to minor injuries. And the United States and Venezuela agreed to resume migrant repatriation flights starting on Friday, March 14th. Washington's Special Envoy Richard Grenell announced the agreement through his social media X. Previously, the president of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, stated that the sanctions against the oil company Chevron affected the new channel of communication with the U.S. authorities and the repatriation of flights of migrants. In addition, the Venezuelan government reaffirmed that most of the returnees are people who migrated in search of economic horizons, and just a few of them have criminal records. And in Haiti, the advance of the coalition of violent gangs remains unstoppable. The criminal coalition Living Together perpetrated an attack on the building of a Radio Television of the Caribbean, the largest media group in the country. The information was confirmed by members of the corporation who echoed several videos on social media where the building can be seen in flames. Last March, during another gun offensive in the center of Port-au-Prince, the capital of Haiti, the fences in the middle of the city were hit by several projectiles. A few days ago, the Living Together coalition resumed actions in the Carrefour Foyers area, where hundreds of people have been forced to leave their homes, thus increasing the number of displaced people. Meanwhile, in Panama, workers' union calls for mobilization against approval of Social Security Fund law. The call to action seeks to oppose the newly approved law, which received 48 votes in favor and 23 against at the country's National Assembly. The Single National Union of Construction and Similar Workers said that the initiative only leads to Social Security privatization, measures that will put the savings of contributors in the hands of private banks and the companies that manage these funds. The social organization calls for a march against the reforms to the Social Security Fund, with the data yet to be determined. And on Thursday, a dangerous penitentiary on the coast of Guayaquil, southwest Ecuador, registered its 4th car bomb attack, leaving 1 dead and 2 wounded. The police have begun investigation into what was described as a new event in the escalation of violence facing the country 1 month before the electoral day. The police commander informed that the only victim killed in the incident is a police chief from the Pascuales neighborhood who approached the vehicle when he noticed that it was on fire. According to the National Director of Anti-Drug Investigation, Holger Cortés Carrion, the event could be a response of the criminal groups to the announcement of President Daniel Noboa about a strategic alliance with the U.S. mercenary agency Blackwater. And Colombia resumes trial of former President Álvaro Uribe, accused of bribery of witnesses and procedural fraud. The criminal trial, which began on February 10th, is the first of its kind against a former president in the history of the country. The hearing held on Thursday included the appearances of Carlos López, also known as Caliche, and Rodrigo Vidal. The first of them allegedly acted as liaison between the former president and Juan Guillermo Monsalve, the key witness in the process, who made a recording where he was offered legal benefits in exchange for making a statement in favor of Uribe. We now have our second short break coming up. We invite you to visit our Facebook page at teleSUR English. There you'll be able to watch our top stories, special live coverage, and much more. Follow our page and activate the notification button to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. For a short break, we'll be right back. Office to investigate former President Jair Bolsonaro's crime against Brazilian sovereignty. The complaint is based on a journalistic interview given by the former president in which he defended foreign intervention in the country and spread false information about an alleged agreement between Brazil and China for the construction of a nuclear bomb. The text of the lawsuit mentions how the criminal facts were widely disclosed by the most diverse channels of communication. In light of the information mentioned, the Workers' Party requests the establishment of a criminal investigation proceeding to determine the crime and, at the end, the offer to submit a complaint to the Supreme Court. And in Ecuador, the National Electoral Council approved this Thursday the prohibition of the use of mobile telephones and electronic devices during the voting process 1 month before the second round of national elections. The prohibition also affects electoral authorities, whereas only one will be able to make use of the devices from the closing of the centers to count and fill the tally sheets. This prohibition will not apply neither to the delegates of the political parties, who will be able to take photographs of the tally sheets for electoral control, nor the observers and press. The decision is taken based on police intelligence reports, which indicated that there were reports of extortion during the first round of elections. And the International Telecommunication Union's World Youth Summit ended in Cuba on Thursday. The closing ceremony was attended by President Miguel Díaz-Canel, who called for the use of new technologies. Since March 11th, this important event, held in Havana, the capital of the island, has discussed issues related to the reduction of the digital gaps between peoples, the introduction of new technologies, artificial intelligence, and cybersecurity, among other key issues. The closing ceremony was also attended by members of the Secretariat of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of Cuba, Judith Rodriguez, and Minister of Communications, Mayra Arevich, and the Director of the Telecommunications Development Office of the International Union, Cosmas Luquison.
Here, we have prioritized the active participation of youngsters in digital projects related to cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, big data management, the Internet of Things, among others, focused on the sustainable development of the country. We defend the ethical use of technologies and the protection of citizens' privacy. We advocate for international standards that regulate cyberspace and safeguard users' rights, especially in developing countries.
And in Cuba, 100 years after the approval of the Hay-Quesada Treaty, original documents related to the signing of the agreement that returned Isla de Pinos to Cuba were exhibited in the lobby of the Caribe Cinema Theater, Nueva Gerona. Among the exhibition was the 1904 treaty, which bears the name of the signatories, the representative of Cuba, Gonzalo Quesada y Arostegui, and then Secretary of State of the United States, John Hay. This agreement took 21 years to be ratified by the U.S. Senate. The files of the Foreign Ministry of Quesada and Cosme de la Torriente could also be appreciated, with photographs of the time that portray the excitement of the population over the reincorporation of Isla de Pinos to the Cuban jurisdiction. Ratification of the Hay-Quesada Treaty, the truth of the struggle of the Cuban people to recover Isla de Pinos, is exhibited, lands that were invaded by the United States.
They were sold land in the United States, lands that did not belong to the United States, and they came to the island to conquer it. They tried to create their institutions, their clubs. They created a cemetery that was only for their burial. There was never a Cuban buried there, so in a way they created a colony that was 100% United States.
And Argentina will hold the first Human Rights Book Fair on Friday, March 14th and Saturday, March 15th. The event is held at the Memory and Human Rights Space in the former Escuela Mecánica de la Armada, a military location where during the last civic military dictatorship, a detention and torture center was located, and is part of the activities organized for the month of memory, which aims to recall the country's history and to discuss current and future issues. Over 60 publishing houses and institutions from all over the country will be present. Among the activities program, there will be book presentations, talks, workshops, conferences, and collective readings. Admission will be free, and visitors of all ages will be able to participate in this date with memory and reading. And in India, millions celebrate this Friday, March 14th, the traditional festival of colors, Holi. In the western Indian city of Ahmedabad, visitors flocked to the Swaminarayan temple, where they were sprinkled with colored water to the rhythm of traditional Gujarati music. This festival, which is also celebrated in Nepal and some Hindu communities in the world, symbolizes the end of winter and the triumph of good over evil. The origin of Holi lies in Hindu mythology and tradition, which celebrates the divine love between the god Krishna and his consort Radha, representing rebirth and rejuvenation.
The atmosphere becomes amazing because of Holi. Anyone who attends the festival here forgets everything about life. They become one with the god. I cannot explain how happy we become after meeting the head priest here. We feel energized for the rest of the year by coming here. Everyone should come here to celebrate.
The festival is celebrated since the times of the gods. We have started playing Holi with natural colors, colors obtained from orange-colored flowers. We soak the flowers in water for over a month, then obtain the colors.
And since the early hours of March 14th, a total lunar eclipse was visible in North America, South America, part of Western Europe, Africa, and the Pacific region. In the North American region, the eclipse began late in the evening of Thursday, March 13th, and lasted until the early hours of Friday, March 14th, depending on local time zones. This astronomical phenomenon is also known as blood moon because during this most striking phase, the moon's transforms into an intense red, and it could be visible. Like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For Telesur English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.